Hey, so today we're going to be talking about how to overcome fear in uncertain times. And there's particularly one word that I'm going to introduce to you in a moment that helps me overcome fear when things are looking uncertain. The main thing to realize with fear is it can spiral, it can accelerate, it starts to change the way you see things, and then you start to look for fearful things in the environment. And usually it involves us getting involved in a mental projection, a story, a video that's external to actually what's going on in this reality. So the one word that I use for it to deal with fear is presence. If you bring yourself back to the present moment, if you bring yourself back to what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel, and what's really going on in this very moment right now, there usually isn't that much of a problem. Fear relies on fearful thinking. It relies on obsessive thinking. And obsessive, fearful thinking, when it's being fueled by adrenaline, when it's fueled by the physical system that goes with fear, which is a good system. It's there to help us to survive. We should always be happy that we have the capacity to feel fear. That means you want to live, you want to survive. That's a wonderful thing. But it can get very, very draining to be in a state of fear all the time. So a technique that I've found for bringing myself back to the present moment that works very, very well, that helps me to overcome fear and to remain in a highly confident state, is to come back to presence. And here's another word for you: acceptance. So if you seek presence, i.e. you want to be here in this moment, not away in some imagined dark future that somebody else is projecting to you, or perhaps it's coming from your own mind, and you say, okay, I'm just going to be here now. I'm going to relax my body. I'm going to maybe straighten my spine a little bit as you're watching this video. These are things that you can control. You're going to breathe a little more deeply, and you're going to come back into the body, and you're going to go, okay, here in this very body, what's going on? What can I hear? What can I see? What can I feel? And then you move to the next phase, which is from presence. You then also want to bring into that space acceptance. Whatever is here in this present moment right now, can I accept it? Can I begin to at least half accept it? Can I begin to consider the possibility that one day I could accept it? What would it be like if I accepted everything I could hear, everything I could see, and everything I could feel right here and now in this moment, just for now, just for this moment? How would that make me feel? And as you sit in the presence of your body, listening, hearing, and feeling, and accepting the data that's coming to you from your senses, from the ears, from the eyes, from the skin, from your kinesthetic sense, your proprioception of where you are in time and space. And you breathe, and you listen to that, and you accept it. Then you start to move into presence. And when you are there, present in your body, fear doesn't seem to be able to possess the same space. It's like a ghost that dissipates, a cold wind that dissipates in the presence, in the warm presence of you being there, because you're alive. And you can cope with things. You've been coping with things, well, ever since the doctor smacked you on your bottom when you came from your mum. Life is full of traumas and ups and downs, but up until now, you've kept your sense of humour, and you keep going, you keep moving. There are things to be done, you do them. There's a time to relax, you relax. You go out from the house if you need to, you go back into the house, regenerate energy again. It's like breathing in and out, like walking left and right, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. You keep breathing and you keep moving, and you come back to presence, and you say, okay, I'm just going to accept everything exactly as it is, just for now. And here's another word for you, and the word is listen. Listen to that which is coming to you from the external world and that which is coming from the internal world. What am I saying to myself right now? Let me listen to that. Let me be present, let me accept, and let me listen. And when I am present to that chatter, to those videos playing in my head of terrible things that may play out in some future, how does it make me feel? And when I listen and witness it and observe it in a more detached and relaxed state, does it change the way I feel? The more I am present and the more I accept, does it change the way I feel about what's going on? It's a wonderful thing that human beings have this ability to speak, and we can convey fairly complicated concepts to each other via the gift of speech. And another wonderful thing that we can do is we can imagine. There was once a wise old woman, and she had beautiful long silver hair, and she had something that she knew that she wanted you to know right now. This wise old woman lived in a beautiful forest on top of a mountain. And in that forest, there was every kind of animal you could imagine. There was every kind of plant that you could imagine. And she kept a beautiful garden there amongst her friends, the wolves and the bears and the bats and the birds. And she'd speak to them because she'd lived there for that long that they learnt her language and she learnt theirs. And she could communicate with them. She lived inside of a house that was built into a hill, and the door to her house was green. These are just stories, they're just ideas. But you can imagine them, and you have that power to imagine things. Certain things you imagine make you feel curious, certain things you imagine make you feel good, certain things you imagine could frighten you, and maybe we shouldn't imagine them as much. Maybe it's a good thing. You need to put your seatbelt on in the car, and you go, I can't be bothered putting my seatbelt on. And then you imagine being an accident, you go, okay, I'll put my seatbelt on. And then you just start thinking about something else. When you enter her house, you go inside, and you notice it's a beautiful, clean, bright house inside. Everything is bright. The sunlight gets in, even in the forest on the side of the mountain. That's the way she built it, to let as much sunlight in as possible so things could be clear and they could be warm. And she turns to the sun, and the sun hits her face, and she says, ah. And you can tell by looking at her, she really loves living there. It's a really good experience for her, being exactly where she is, and she's grateful for it. She's grateful for all of her friends, and she's grateful for the animals in the woods. See this world that we're creating? They're just words. I'm making it up on the fly. And she says, come here, you, I have something for you. And she walks away into the back of the house. And there's this big bookshelf full of old leather-bound books with spells and incantations and recipes and cures and medicine. And she pulls a book down and she opens up this big red leather book. It's dusty and it's written in an ancient script that you can't understand, but she can. And she does that really disgusting thing that people do, and she licks her finger and moves the pages with her spit-covered finger, and you go, because you're glad to be there, but it's kind of creepy. And she says, I have something to share with you. It says it right here in this ancient book of old spells. You do actually have control over what you're thinking about, you know. It says it right here in this old book of spells. This is an old book that all initiates to an old magical group had to read. And one of the first things that they had to learn when they were being initiated is they needed to learn the discipline of controlling their thoughts and not letting their thoughts run away with them and not letting other people run away with their thoughts. She slams the book shut. She looks at you, gives you a hearty wink, a slap on the shoulder, offers you a scone and says, fuck off, I've got work to do now. There is profit, I'm afraid, in fear. There is tremendous capacity to profit from scaring people. There's control in fear, if you can frighten people. And profit and control, when they come together in the hands of some people, it's an irresistible temptation to not leverage fear against people when you seek to profit from them and you seek to control them. Of course you'll use fear. But we as the recipients of these messages have to live with the consequences of that, and it's not so cool. Do you remember the end of Blade Runner? You must watch Blade Runner, where Roy Batty, the super replicant, says, it's quite an experience to live in fear. That's what it is to be a slave. It's quite an experience to live in fear. That's what it is to be a slave. Let us not be enslaved by fear. Let us not be enslaved by the people who want to leverage this psychological tactic against us. Let's move back into presence, into this reality, not the reality that they're creating. And we're going to have to get a hold of that and become present and start willfully creating the reality that we want, not the one that they want. Free from fear. One that's built on courage, one that's built on hope, one that's built on optimism. And one of the first steps to overcome that fear is to accept things just as they are from a position of presence, to witness your own thoughts, to listen to your own feelings, but to not identify with them. Be very, very careful of stuff you're consuming in the mainstream media as well. If you want to learn how to meditate, I'm more than happy to teach you. I do it a very, very simple way. All I do is to sit inside of my body, which is where I am most, that's usually where you'll find me, and then I just associate with my body. The only other thing I do is I support my own back. So if I'm sat, I have an ACL injury at the moment, otherwise I would kneel, maybe on like a cushion or a mat. It's called seiza in Japanese. That's my favorite position. But because my knee won't let me, now I just sit on the edge of the couch or on the edge of the bed. I support my own spine. I straighten my spine. I slow my breathing. And then I focus on everything I can hear, everything I can feel, and everything I can see. And I just accept it. And whatever comes up, whatever thoughts or feelings come up, I just accept them for now. And in that space, I can feel the presence of my own sort of spirit or consciousness, or whatever you want to call it. The spirit fills that space and it feels good. I can feel life there. And I go, oh, that's good. That's my meditation technique. It's as simple as that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. Stay grateful for everything that you have, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers. Folks, if you enjoyed that, there are more episodes for you to watch right here. Please click on that. If you want to subscribe to me, do it here. And here is a PDF for you that is completely free.